I'd spent 30 years building Morrison and Associates from nothing, and tonight, standing in this glittering ballroom surrounded by 200 people who'd come to celebrate our company's anniversary, I realized I might have just built my own cage. I was 65 years old, and for the first time since I'd signed those incorporation papers in my spare bedroom 3 decades ago, I wasn't sure if I still had the right to the life I'd created. The Hilton ballroom looked perfect. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over white-clothed tables, each centerpiece a small fortune in roses and orchids. The banner behind the stage read Morrison and Associates, 30 years of excellence in elegant script. My husband Michael stood near the bar, his silver hair catching the light, his tuxedo pressed sharp. 35 years of marriage, and I could still read his body language from across a crowded room. Tonight, his shoulders were tight. He was avoiding my eyes. Something was wrong. I smoothed down my navy evening gown. The one Michael had said brought out my eyes. Those eyes had developed crow's feet over the years, and my once dark hair was now a silvery gray I'd finally stopped coloring last year. I'd earned every one of those lines and every strand of that gray. Or so I'd thought. "Jennifer!" My assistant Maria appeared at my elbow, her face flushed. She'd been with me for 15 years, had worked her way up from receptionist to senior consultant. If anyone had earned loyalty, it was her. But tonight, even Maria looked nervous. "You look beautiful." "Thank you." "You look worried." "Why?" Maria's eyes darted toward the stage, then back to me. "Just enjoy the evening. You've earned it." Before I could press her, Alexis Chen appeared. 34 years old, Stanford MBA, sharp as a blade and twice as cutting. I'd brought her on as a partner 2 years ago to help modernize our operations. She'd come with references that sang, ideas that sparkled, and an energy that reminded me of myself at that age. Tonight, she wore red, a color I'd never been bold enough to choose. Her dark hair was swept up, diamond studs in her ears that probably cost more than my first car. "Jennifer." She air-kissed near my cheek, her perfume expensive and overwhelming. "Big night." "Our big night," I corrected gently. "All of us." "Right. Of course." Her smile was sharp. "Michael's been looking for you." I made my way to my husband. He turned as I approached, and something flickered across his face. Guilt? Fear? In 35 years, I'd seen him nervous before business deals, proud when our kids graduated, exhausted during our daughter's cancer scare 10 years ago. But this expression was new. "Hey!" He handed me a glass of champagne. "You look stunning. You look like you're about to tell me something I don't want to hear." He laughed, but it was hollow. "Can we talk after? After the speeches?" My stomach tightened. "Michael, what's going on?" "Jennifer." Our CFO, David, pulled me into conversation about quarterly numbers. Then clients appeared, board members, employees. I smiled and thanked people, and accepted congratulations while that knot in my stomach wound tighter and tighter. I caught snatches of conversation, whispers that stopped when I approached. David said something to Michael about, "Discussed this last week." My longest-standing client, Patricia Summers, gripped my hand and said, "You're an icon, Jennifer. Don't let anyone tell you different." What an odd thing to say at a celebration. The dinner passed in a blur of salmon and speeches. Board members toasted our growth. Clients shared testimonials. I gave my prepared remarks, thanking everyone, sharing the story of starting the company at 35 with nothing but expertise and determination. The audience applauded. Michael squeezed my hand under the table, but he still wouldn't meet my eyes. Then Alexis stood up. "I'd like to say a few words," she announced, her voice carrying across the room without effort. She hadn't been on the speaking program. I glanced at David, who studied his wine glass. Maria's face had gone pale. "Jennifer Morrison is a legend," Alexis began, and something about the past tense of that statement made my skin prickle. She built this company from scratch. 30 years ago, she saw a need in the market and filled it. She pioneered approaches that became industry standard. She mentored countless consultants, including me. The room applauded. I smiled, but my heart was racing. "But 30 years is a long time," Alexis continued. "The business world has changed. Our clients' needs have evolved, and Morrison and Associates needs to evolve too." Where was she going with this? Which is why Alexis smiled at the room. The board and I have been working on a transition plan. Starting next quarter, Jennifer will be moving into an advisory role, and I'll be assuming the position of CEO. The room went silent. I sat frozen, the champagne glass halfway to my lips. Advisory role? CEO? I looked at David, at the board members scattered throughout the room. Some wouldn't meet my eyes. Others looked uncomfortable. Michael's hand found mine under the table, but it felt like an apology, not support. This will allow Jennifer to enjoy her retirement while still lending us her wisdom, Alexis continued smoothly. She's earned the right to spend time with her grandchildren, to travel, to rest. We're so grateful for everything she's built. Let's give her a round of applause as she begins this next chapter. The room erupted in applause. Confused applause, polite applause, applause that felt like a funeral. I stood up, not to acknowledge the applause, but because my legs had started shaking and I needed to move. I needed air. The room spun slightly as I made my way toward the terrace doors, hearing my name called, feeling hands try to stop me, but I kept walking. The terrace was empty, cold, November air hitting my face like a slap. Chicago stretched out below, lights glittering like the chandelier inside. I'd built an office in this city. I'd raised my children here. I'd created something that mattered. And apparently, I'd just been fired at my own party. Jennifer. I didn't turn. I knew Alexis's voice. That was quite an announcement, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. The board agreed it was time. The board. I turned to face her now. She stood in the doorway, backlit by the warm glow of the ballroom. Funny, I don't remember any board meetings about this. We didn't want to worry you. You've been so stressed lately. Had I? I ran through the past few months. Yes, I'd been working on something big, spending late nights in my office, taking calls at odd hours. But stressed? No. Excited, energized, more alive than I'd felt in years. And Michael agreed to this? The betrayal of that hurt worse than Alexis's ambush. Michael wants what's best for you. We all do. Alexis stepped onto the terrace, closing the door behind her. Jennifer, you're 65 years old. You've accomplished amazing things. But let's be honest, your methods are outdated. Clients are asking for digital transformation, AI integration, social media strategy. You still use a paper planner. I use what works. What worked? Past tense. She moved closer, her voice dropping. Look, I respect everything you've done, but this industry has passed you by. The younger consultants look to me for leadership now. Clients ask for me by name. The board sees where the future is going. And where's that? Forward. Without you holding us back. She said it almost kindly, like she was doing me a favor. It's time for you to retire, Jennifer. Step aside gracefully. Let the younger generation run things. You can keep your office if you want. Come in once a week, pretend you're still relevant. Or you can take the package we're offering and actually enjoy your life. The package. They'd already worked out the severance. How long had they been planning this? I gave you everything, I said quietly. I brought you in, taught you, made you partner, and I'm grateful. But gratitude doesn't mean I have to watch you drive this company into irrelevance. Alexis checked her phone, bored now that she'd delivered her message. The board is voting Friday to make it official. Michael will explain the financial details. It's very generous, Jennifer. You should be grateful. She walked back inside, leaving me alone with the Chicago wind and the ruins of my life. I don't know how long I stood there. Long enough for Michael to find me, his face creased with guilt and something that looked like pity. You knew, I said. They approached me last month. Jennifer, they made good points. We're not getting any younger. The grandkids need us. Sophie's been asking when we'll visit more often. And the money they're offering, we could travel, we could do those things anyway. I don't need to give up my company to see my grandchildren. It's not your company anymore. It's a corporation with a board and shareholders and I'm the majority shareholder, Michael. I turned to look at him finally. Or did you forget that part? His face went blank. What? When we incorporated, I kept 51%, always. I never told anyone because I didn't think I needed to. I trusted the board. I trusted my partner. I trusted you. Jennifer, if you try to fight this, I'm not fighting anything. I'm simply stating facts." I walked past him, back toward the ballroom. My legs felt steadier now. The shaking had stopped. I'd spent the past 6 months working on something. Late nights in my office that Alexis had noticed, calls at odd hours that Michael had questioned. I'd been working on the biggest deal of my career, and I'd been doing it quietly because I wanted it to be perfect before I announced it. I'd been working on expanding Morrison & Associates internationally, not just an office in London or Tokyo, but a full partnership with a European firm, a merger that would triple our size and revenue. I'd been negotiating with Steinberg and Partners in Munich, a prestigious firm that specialized in exactly the digital transformation Alexis claimed we needed. The deal was done. Signed 2 days ago. I'd been planning to announce it tonight, after the celebration dinner. Surprise everyone with the news that their small Chicago firm was about to become a major international player. Instead, I'd been ambushed. The ballroom had emptied somewhat during my absence. Guests were mingling now, the formal program over. Alexis held court near the bar, surrounded by younger employees, laughing. The board members clustered in a corner, probably discussing how generous they'd been to give me a way out. I walked to the stage. The microphone still stood there, waiting. I tapped it once. The feedback screech got everyone's attention. "Sorry to interrupt," I said, my voice carrying across the room. "I know Alexis already shared some news about the company's future. I'd like to add something." Alexis's smile faltered. David stepped forward, looking alarmed. Michael moved toward the stage, but I held up a hand. 30 years ago, I started this company because I saw a gap in the market. I saw businesses struggling with problems they didn't have the expertise to solve internally, so I built a team of experts who could help. I looked around the room, at faces I'd known for decades, and faces that were new. We've grown. We've adapted. We've survived recessions and market shifts and technological revolutions, not because we refused to change, but because we changed intelligently. The room was silent now. Alexis had gone very still. 6 months ago, I started working on our next evolution. I've been in talks with Steinberg and Partners in Munich, one of Europe's premier consulting firms. They specialize in digital transformation, AI implementation, and next-generation business strategy. Exactly the areas where Alexis believes we're falling behind. I pulled out my phone, pulled up the document, and projected it on the screen behind me. The merger agreement, signed and sealed. As of Tuesday, Morrison & Associates entered into a partnership agreement with Steinberg and Partners. We're merging operations. They bring cutting-edge technical expertise. We bring established client relationships and market knowledge. Together, we'll be one of the largest consulting firms in the world, with offices in 8 countries and revenue projected to triple within 2 years. The room erupted, people talking over each other, looking at the screen, looking at me. David's mouth had fallen open. Board members were frantically checking their phones, probably trying to verify what I was saying. Alexis looked like she'd been slapped. "Now," I continued, "Alexis is right about one thing. Leadership needs to evolve, which is why I'm announcing some changes to our executive structure." I let that hang in the air for a moment. Effective immediately, Maria Torres will be promoted to Chief Operating Officer. She's earned it through 15 years of exceptional service and innovation. Maria's eyes went wide. I smiled at her. David will continue as CFO, and I will continue as CEO of the newly expanded Morrison & Associates International. I paused, then looked directly at Alexis. As for advisory roles, I think we could use some fresh perspective in that capacity. Alexis, you've made it clear you see the future differently than I do, so I'm offering you the advisory position you suggested for me. You can help us understand the younger generation's perspective without the stress of day-to-day operations, or, if you prefer, we can discuss a severance package. Very generous. You should be grateful. I used her own words. Let them land like stones. The room was completely silent now. Alexis's face had gone from pale to red. You can't do this. The board answers to the shareholders. I am the majority shareholder. I always have been. I looked at the board members. I kept that information private out of respect for our collaborative culture. Clearly, that was naive of me. But the corporate structure is clear, and I've already discussed these changes with our lawyers. Everything is legal and binding. "This is insane," Alexis said. "You're 65 years old. You should be retiring, not expanding internationally. You're going to run this company into the ground." "Maybe. But it's my company to run. I built it, I grew it, and I'm not done with it yet." I looked at her, this young woman I'd mentored, and felt something close to pity. "You made a mistake, Alexis. Not in wanting to move up, that's natural, but in assuming that age equals irrelevance. I've spent 30 years building relationships, learning this industry, developing instincts. You can't download that from an app." I turned back to the room. The world tells women we have a shelf life, that after a certain age, we should step aside, make room, fade into the background. I bought into that narrative for about 15 minutes on that terrace. Then I remembered something. I thought about Sophie, my granddaughter, 8 years old with my eyes and my stubborn streak. Last week she'd asked me, "Grandma, when you were young, did you have to stop working when you got old?" Such an innocent question that had gutted me. I have a granddaughter who watches everything I do, who tells people her grandmother runs a company, who believes women can do anything at any age. I won't teach her that success has an expiration date. I won't model stepping aside when I'm still capable, still growing, still learning. Maria was crying now, smiling and crying at once. Some of the younger employees were nodding. Even some of the board members looked chastened. So here's what happens next. Those of you who want to be part of Morrison & Associates International, who are excited about growth and change and building something bigger, welcome. We have a lot of work ahead. I looked at Alexis. Those of you who feel uncomfortable with my leadership, I understand. No hard feelings. We can work out transitions. I turned off the microphone. The room stayed silent for a moment, then someone started clapping. Maria, then David, then more people, until the applause filled the ballroom. Not polite applause this time. Real appreciation. Alexis stood frozen near the bar. Then she grabbed her purse and walked out. 3 of the younger associates followed her, but most stayed. The board chairman approached the stage, his face unreadable. "That was quite a surprise, Jennifer," he said. "Yes. I imagine you don't like surprises." "Actually," he said slowly, "I'm relieved. When Alexis approached us last month about transitioning you out, something felt off, but she was very convincing about the company needing younger leadership. I'm glad we didn't vote on Friday. Are you? Or are you glad you don't have to explain to shareholders why you tried to push out a CEO who just secured the biggest deal in company history?" He had the grace to look embarrassed. "Both, perhaps." Michael appeared at my side. "Can we talk?" I followed him back to the terrace. The same terrace where Alexis had told me to step aside. The wind was colder now, or maybe I was just feeling it more. "You should have told me," Michael said, "about the merger, about the ownership percentage. You should have told me about the board meetings, about Alexis's plan. I thought I was protecting you. You've been working so hard, I thought maybe some rest would be good." "I don't want rest, Michael. I want purpose. I want to wake up excited about what I'm building. I want to matter. You matter to me, to Sophie and James and the grandkids. I know. But I also want to matter here." I gestured at the building, the city beyond. "Is that selfish?" "No." He pulled me close. "It's human. I'm sorry. I should have supported you." "Yes, you should have." I let myself lean into him anyway. "We're going to have to work on that." "I know." We stood there for a while, husband and wife, watching the city lights. Finally, Michael said, "So, Germany? Quarterly visits, at least. Maria will handle most of the integration here. I guess I should brush up on my German." I looked at him, surprised. "You want to come? You're my wife." "Of course I'm coming." He smiled ruefully. "Besides, someone needs to keep you out of trouble." "I think I can manage." "Oh, I know you can. You just reminded 200 people of that." He kissed my forehead. "I'm proud of you. I should have said that earlier." We went back inside. The party had shifted in tone. Less formal now, more celebratory. People wanted to talk about the merger, about international expansion, about the future. Maria pulled me aside and hugged me so tight I couldn't breathe. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you for seeing me. You earned it, every bit of it." The next few weeks were chaos. Alexis resigned, taking her 3 followers with her. They started their own firm, which I genuinely wished them well with. The merger integration required endless video calls with Munich, legal reviews, strategic planning. Michael and I flew to Germany twice. Sophie came with us once, eyes wide at the castles and Christmas markets. "Grandma, you work here too?" she asked, standing in our Munich office. "Sometimes." "Cool, right?" "Super cool." She thought about it. "When I grow up, can I work everywhere too?" "Sweetheart, you can work anywhere you want, for as long as you want." 3 months after the anniversary party, I sat in my Chicago office early one morning. The sun was just coming up over Lake Michigan. My paper planner sat open on my desk, filled with meetings and deadlines and plans. Next to it, my laptop showed spreadsheets and video call schedules. I hadn't stepped aside. I hadn't faded. I hadn't let anyone define my worth by my age. The truth was, that night on the terrace, I'd wavered. For those 15 minutes, I'd almost believed what Alexis said, almost accepted that my time was over, almost let go of something I loved because someone younger and louder said I should. But then I'd remembered something my mother told me when I started the company at 35. She'd been 65 then, the same age I am now. People had told her I was too old to start a business, that I should focus on being a mother, that I'd missed my window. She'd said, "Jenny, you're never too old to begin something new. You're never too tired to matter, and you're never too anything to claim the life you want." I'd carried those words for 30 years. On that terrace, with Alexis's dismissal ringing in my ears and my husband's betrayal fresh, those words had saved me. I wasn't done. Not with my company, not with my career, not with proving that women over 60 have wisdom and strength and relevance. I'd spent decades building something meaningful, and I wasn't going to hand it over just because someone younger thought they deserved it more. The office door opened. Maria poked her head in. "You're here early," she said. "Couldn't sleep. Too excited about the Berlin office opening." "Me too." She came in, carrying 2 coffees. "I've been thinking about something." "What's that?" "When Alexis tried to push you out, I almost didn't say anything. I thought, maybe she's right. Maybe Jennifer wants to retire and she's too proud to admit it." Maria sat down across from me. "I'm ashamed I thought that." "Don't be. The world teaches us to think that. But you taught me different. You taught me that we don't stop being valuable just because we get older, that experience and wisdom matter, that you can start new chapters at any age." She smiled. "I'm going to remember that when I'm 65. "Good. And Maria, when you're my age and some 34-year-old tries to push you out, remember this too. You don't have to step aside unless you choose to. Age is not a weakness. It's a superpower they haven't earned yet." The sun rose higher, filling the office with golden light. Somewhere in that building, our team was arriving, ready to work on projects that spanned continents. In Germany, our new partners were probably already at their desks. In my home, my grandchildren were probably waking up, and Sophie would tell her brother again about Grandma's super cool company that was everywhere. I'd built something that would outlast me. Not because I'd stepped aside, but because I'd held on. Not because I'd faded gracefully into retirement, but because I'd refused to fade at all. I was 65 years old. I was just getting started. And anyone who thought otherwise was welcome to watch from the sidelines as I proved them wrong.